Welcome to the One Life, One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today I have a very, very special guest. It's my first time meeting him, actually, too. Mr. Brandon Novak. I said your name correct, right?
You did.
Thank you for being here, man.
I'm really excited
We've been talking
here.
through the gram. I'm sure we have mutual friends in real life. And
we have. I'm a big fan of you and your work and this podcast. So
thank you, man.
When you asked me to come on, I was like really honored.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to have you, man.
The caliber of people you have on here, you set the bar high. So
thank you, man. Wow.
You made me feel good about myself to be
Thank
invited.
you, man. I appreciate you. And my brother from another mother, Mr. Derek Green.
What's up?
The man with the voice and the face for
Thank
radio.
you very much.
The voice and the face for radio.
You're very, very kind. Yeah, that was, yeah.
What?
No, you just say that insult all the time.
No, because when you say when you say of a face for radio, that means most people are ugly.
I get it.
But you're handsome.
Oh, all right.
The mustache a little bit suspect, though.
The mustache is a COVID stash. It's so good.
I'm new to this equation. This is where I remain Switzerland. I'm not saying a
Right.
word. I don't know you well enough.
It's all right, Brandon.
Well, welcome here. So
Yes.
We're gonna get to know
we're
each
gonna
other
get into
better.
your we're gonna get into your life because you've been through so much. I did a really deep dive on you. You're a survivor. It's amazing to have you here. You've been through so much stuff. But it started out. You were born in Baltimore.
Yeah, born and raised in Baltimore City. Grew up skateboarding. Skateboarding raised me.
Me too.
Came from a single family home. My father was around just enough to let me know that he wasn't around. Kind of taught me one thing: if and when I go to prison, how to conduct myself.
Wow.
He's like ran with the Hell's Angels. One of those kind of dudes.
Right.
Wow.
Like, how long was he involved in the picture? Like, or is he
That's
still?
the thing. No, he acquired the liking to the taste of crack cocaine, and he succumbed to his addiction.
Okay.
But he was, that's the crazy thing about love, and I get it. My mother loved him emphatically, and like I remember, he was a ladies' man. Everybody loved him except for his own family,
Yeah.
Right.
And he, I would come home from work and or from skating as a young kid, and those two would be going at it, and we'd be packing our stuff up and running out of the house or moving out of the house in the middle of the night. I would go out skating, and I remember it vividly. It's definitely a traumatic experience, which I didn't know then, but I see now the results of it. And I would come home from skating with like Bucky Lasik and all those dudes, and
How old are you?
maybe like 10, 9,
Wow. Okay, really
8,
young.
9, 10, yeah.
Super young.
Running with the bigger dudes, and I would come home, and this is literally after we would like sell the house and run from him, right?
Wow. Jesus.
And then we would come home, and my mother would let him back in, and he'd be in the kitchen making dinner like nothing had ever happened.
Wow, man.
So that like really it pushed my buttons, to say the least.
You have brothers and sisters?
Yeah. Super successful brother. He's like an attorney in the White House who practices pensions and benefits.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, that's the deal. So I come from a pretty successful family in their own right. My mother's a nuclear physicist.
Wow.
Was
Shit.
on the board. My brother's an attorney in the White House, and my father died to his disease of addiction. So like, it's ironic that we all kind of assumed the same trait, myself included. Later on down the line, is that like, despite any and all adverse consequences that came our way, we did what we wanted. We did what we had to do to get what we wanted to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you have like a normal kind of upbringing? Was it like, even though with your dad in and out of the picture, it was like a strict family, guys, religious family, or
Nah, it was a pretty laid back family. My mother got her very first job at Mercy Hospital as a phlebotomist, drawing blood for $5 a piece at the age of 15 years old.
Phlebotomist?
Yeah.
A person who
draws blood. Yeah.
Okay.
I never heard that before.
Never
Wow.
heard that term.
Yeah, totally. And she would just draw blood. It's
Wow.
which ironically later on in life, that's kind of what I became for a different reason.
How were you in school and stuff?
School was just whatever, skateboarding was my thing.
Yeah.
Like I always say that God blessed me with the ability to find what I was truly happy doing.
Yeah.
You could be the best ping pong player in the world, but God might not see fit to put a paddle on your hand.
It's true.
At the age of 7, when my mother gave me that first skateboard, she was putting me to bed, and she said, "Brandon, what do you want me to do with your skateboard?" And I said, "I want it in bed with me." She said, "Why?" And I said, "Because if I die, I want it to go with me." And I meant it.
Wow,
I remember
man.
saying,
Wow.
I remember that like I'm touching this table.
Yeah. You remember what board it was?
No, I do remember how I got it though. I was in Ocean City, Maryland, because my sister would live down there through the summer. My sister and my brother, and my mom would stay home working, and she'd kind of try to keep me out of the house because when my father would come around, his behavior was pretty erratic and sporadic to say the least.
Yeah.
She would just send me off with them, and there's a skate park on 3rd Street in Ocean City, like the bowl and the vert ramp.
Yeah.
And my sister took me there one day, and I didn't recognize it then, but I do now. That I wasn't like into skating, didn't really know anything about it, but there was a pro there, and he gave me his skateboard.
Wow.
And he clearly wanted to fuck my sister, or was fucking my sister. Like, I wasn't like a little kid, like, I need a board. He just,
He's like, here you go, son.
And do you remember what pro that was?
No, it
Damn,
drives me crazy to this day.
Fuck.
And my sister does not either.
Are you the youngest?
Yeah.
Okay, so your sister's in the middle?
Yes.
Okay,
And then
your
my brother.
is the
But my
oldest.
sister and my brother are by a different man.
Okay.
I'm the only one by my father. So
I
I believe my addiction and alcoholism was genetically predisposed because my father was and his father was.
I see.
My brother, my sister, my mother, they could take it or leave it.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So you weren't partying at a young age. Were you in school and stuff like that?
No. Like literally, my mother would take me to the hospital. She would go to work at like 5 in the morning, and she would take me, and I would skate in the parking garage all day until she got off at like 5 p.m. So and then I when I started to kind of develop a style and people started to recognize me, then like the older dudes would pick me up and take me skating with them, and I wasn't the kind of kid who had the upbringing of like come in when the street lights go on.
Yeah.
Call me with the address that you're at. And then my skateboarding career kind of developed. So from the outsider's perspective, I was pretty good at what I did. So people believed in what I was doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
People weren't questioning my whereabouts.
You got sponsored at 14?
Yeah. Well, at 14, I was the first skateboarder ever. It was before like Gatorade starting endorsing like extreme sports and skateboarding. At 14, I was the first skateboarder ever to be endorsed by Gatorade.
Holy shit.
Before it was like a thing.
That's fucking amazing. Are you a street skater or ramp or everything?
I like transition.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm a tranny kind of guy.
Did you ever skate Mountain Trashmore?
No.
Or was that too?
That was like right before my
I
time.
used to go there. Or Cedar Crest?
Cedar Crest I've skated, but not like
Scary.
sessioned.
No, it's a scary place.
I was like really young at that point.
It's all metal.
Yeah.
Gigantic ramp with pool coping.
Wow.
I see Fred Smith always do skate, and it's a gnarly ramp.
Dude,
man.
it's intimidating.
It's scary.
It really is.
So you just skating? Did you have other friends who were skaters? You kind of like the
So the person that literally kind of showed me the way and took me under his wing was Bucky Lasik.
Okay.
He's from Baltimore as well.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And I am, and he's the guy that I emulated. I style is everything in skateboarding.
Totally.
You could do every trick in the world and your style is shit and no one cares. It's like, all right, let's hurry up. Come on.
Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah. It's a shame. It's a shame. Several names come to mind and I'm like, dude, if only they had a great style.
Yeah.
But
it's so true. So you started skating while you were in high school?
Yeah. No, way before high school.
Way
I was
before high
skating in elementary
that's right,
school.
elementary. And so did you realize at a certain young age that you wanted to be a professional skateboarder?
Yeah,
that was your dream.
Immediately.
Your focus? Okay.
I'm literally the night that my mother put me to bed with that board.
Wow.
I knew that I was going to be a professional skateboarder. There was no reason for like a plan B, a trait, an option. Like, just like my mother and my brother and my sister, despite any and all adverse consequences that came my way, I knew what I had to do to get what I wanted to get.
Yeah.
And I was willing to do it.
Totally focused, man.
Which later on played a pretty significant role in my addiction and alcoholism. Like, I'm not like a halfway in kind of guy. There's no moderation in my story.
You full on for skateboarding.
Yeah, like either we do it or we don't. You have my interest or you don't.
And did that affect your grades and stuff? Did you graduate?
No, not high school. High school, I was expelled because that's when drugs totally took over.
In high school.
High school.
Before, so at the end of 16, 17, turning 17, I'm a full-blown heroin addict.
Whoa.
Fuck.
Wait,
Yeah.
oh my God. So was there a person
Group of
that
people or
introduced you to
It's
at such a young age? Or?
It's kind of strange. It's not strange, but So I'm doing really well with skating. I'm coming out here. I'm sponsored by Pal Peralta.
That's right. He skated for Powell.
Yeah,
It's fucking
I
crazy.
Yeah, I'm riding for Pal. Bucky had got me sponsored by Pal and staying at the Pal warehouse in Santa Barbara. When it
I
was
mean, you
out
think about
there.
East Coast guys skating for Powell either.
No,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, that's true.
it was.
Well, Mike Vallely was East Coast. He had his
yeah.
tour, but yeah.
He. I did many tours with him.
Wow.
He was
So that's like a dream. You're skating for fucking Powell.
totally
Right.
going to
Fucking
Tony
crazy.
Hawk's house. Hanging there.
Right. And you're on the team and you're out here. And
Yeah, and everything's going great. But again, because I seem to have a method to what my plan was, there was no accountability, right? Like I didn't have to really check. I checked in with Todd Hastings, who at the time was my team captain for PAL. So I'm like this 14-year-old kid in Baltimore who goes to the 7-Eleven with a pocket full of quarters to make a call to California, and say,
Yeah.
yo, Todd, which is my boss, essentially, I just learned this trick. I just filmed this.
Wow,
So
man.
there's no
Right.
a 9-to-5 job or
Right.
washing dishes or waiting tables where someone's like, your
Yeah.
eyes look funny,
Yeah.
Right.
And was your mom supportive of that?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, they backed it. And again, because they saw that,
Keeping you out of trouble,
yeah,
too.
it kept me out of trouble. It kept me out of the house, and it kept me out of my dad's wrath. So it was like, and it babysat me, and it saved
Yeah.
my mother some money.
But you went out to California underage, obviously.
Yeah, multiple times.
Wow. And there was no adult supervision going out there with you?
Well, Bucky,
Okay,
Lasik,
Bucky, yeah. He was like your
I was
mentor.
just talking last night. My very first concert ever was at University of Santa Barbara. I saw Public Enemy play
Damn.
with Flavor
Nice.
Flav.
That's a good first
That's a good
concert.
fucking first show,
Yeah,
yeah.
ever. And I'm like 14 years old.
Wow.
And,
That's crazy. So you came to Cali, and that's kind of where you got exposed to shit?
yeah. Well, not even exposed to shit, but just as it progressed, I just remember, the older dudes who I hung with, they weren't really into drinking or drugging, but they would partake.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was whatever then. But as time progressed, again, this is just my opinion, but I believe I was genetically predisposed. So once I acquired the taste, it's not like I loved the taste of alcohol. I loved the freedom that was provided from the taste.
Okay.
It kind of allowed me to escape reality.
Yep.
And at a young age, being pretty successful at my trade comes with some responsibilities.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There were some standards I had to live up to,
Extra
and I
pressure
had,
on you, yeah.
and I had to produce, and I had to stay relevant.
Yeah.
And I loved it. So it wasn't like a job or a mission, but at the back of my head, I loved it so much I was terrified that I could lose it.
Yeah.
Right.
And what was your relationship at the time with your dad?
I couldn't stand him. I could
So
not
there was some hate
stand
for your dad.
so much,
Yeah.
because my mother is the best woman on earth, and
Yeah.
she's everything to me, and I just continue to, he had nothing, so he would use my mother's car. Ironically, as fate would have it, I became him later on down the road, and we're not there yet. But
Yeah, that's crazy.
But he would sleep on the sofa all day, wait for her to get home from work, use her car to go to the corner pub at the end of the street, and I remember one night my mother had to go to work in the morning and he wasn't home with the car, so she wakes me up to walk to the end of the street to this pub they hung at, and we get there and we see the car steamed up and it's rocking.
Ah,
and
fuck,
he's in
man.
the back seat
It's
with
like a
this.
movie and shit.
Totally.
Holy shit.
So it just it
You
fueled
start
this
resenting and hating your dad at a young age.
so much.
I'm never gonna fucking be like that.
I talk about that in the talks that I give, is that I lived, no bullshit, I lived with that after school special or that cautionary tale of the man that I would never ever become.
Yeah. Fuck,
and as a
man.
matter of fact, I made it a point to excel in everything that I did to prove that I would never be him. Mm-hmm. Ironically, to become exactly like him.
Yeah.
Then we went on to sell drugs to each other, with each other. We partied together.
You and your pops.
Yeah.
Later on. Holy fuck.
We shared some.
Wow.
Some
So
times.
so alcohol is the first thing you kind of tried?
Yeah. And now throughout this whole time, my father, was always growing a lot of herb.
Okay.
Running with the Hells Angels, so there was a lot of unsavory fellas in and out of the house. So I
Yeah.
witnessed these behaviors,
Of course.
which is why I find myself still in therapy today.
Wow.
You know, there's no reason as to why I'm single at this point. Not to say it in a joking matter, but
Right.
like what I witnessed in the sponge, all the stuff that I absorbed was not healthy relationships.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So now at like coming up on 6 years sober, I'm the best that I've ever been in my life, physically, mentally,
Yeah, they're great,
spiritually,
man. It's fucking
financially,
awesome. Yeah.
except relationships.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
the last part. And that
Yeah.
my therapist is like, of course
Process.
that's the last thing you're dealing with
Yeah.
because it's the hardest thing to address.
Yeah. Do you feel like you didn't know, but you're kind of running away from? You want to not prove yourself or not have your dad say he's proud of you, but you focus hard on skating and going to California. In a weird way, you essentially just trying to kind of run away from your home life.
Yeah. You know, because ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
When you don't know, you're not to be held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it was just better to not know because there wasn't much I could do about it. It was
Yeah.
between my mother and my father, and she loved him. And I understand it. And now I really understand it because after doing years and years of this internal work that was like required in order for me to get these external results that I've always desired, which is like this peace and freedom.
Yeah.
And relinquish this bondage of self because I was just always so weighed down.
Mm-hmm.
What I recognize is that my father, my mother, my family, they did the very best that they could with what they had.
Yeah.
Right. So I've completely made amends and at peace with my father now. Unfortunately, he's passed. But
Okay, wow.
you know, I had this therapist once, and she said, you know, Brandon, I want you to do me a favor. And I said, what's that, Christina? She said, I want you to dig 2 graves. I said, for what? She said, one for you and one for all that baggage that you're carrying around. And that like really hit me.
Yeah. It's fucking powerful.
That was like one of the things I was going to ask you. Like, what were the positive things about your father that possibly like your mother saw or that you saw in him? You
That's
know,
a good question.
Well, you know, it's funny.
Because he sounds super gnarly. Like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking Sons of Anarchy, Sons of
Yeah.
Anarchy, all this shit.
I mean, it just keeps adding on. You're like,
Yeah.
wow, he was, running this meth lab in the basement of our house.
Yeah,
You know, I'm
I
like,
mean,
whoa.
not too far off. Not too far off.
Okay. Yeah.
It's where I'm at today is completely different than where I was, and today I recognize that everything is in my perspective and perception of things.
Of course, you're
So
right.
if you're asking me that question today, I can give you a completely different answer. But if you're asking me from back then, so you tell me.
Okay. So, wow. I would think,
I would say back then.
yeah, back then.
Yeah.
Like, was there anything
Like-
about him that you missed or like, I don't know,
Like
a
back-
good memory about your dad?
Right.
I
Took me to the
remember
ball game or some shit.
I remember I got that first skateboard, and for whatever reason, he would not let me skate until I got pads, right? And I didn't have any pads.
Yeah.
And I, as a skater, I wanted it now,
Right,
right
of
now, I want
course.
to skate.
Oh, right.
So he allowed my sister and my brother to take me in the basement where he had this secret room built into the wall where he was growing
Wow.
tons of herb. But in the basement, he allowed me to skate, and he took one of those, if you have a kid and you put him in the pool and those floaties that go here, and just shoved that over my head. And that was my helmet, and he let me skate. You know?
Oh, is there photos of that shit?
No, trust me, dude.
With a floaty on your head?
If there was.
At least he fucking tried, though.
Yeah.
He tried to protect your head.
Right.
He bought me at like I was like 8 years old. He bought me a little YZ50 dirt
Okay.
bike and
Sick.
a pair of chaps.
Okay.
So all like the biker dudes will be in the garage cleaning their Harleys and shit, and I'm this little 8-year-old cleaning my little Y Zinger 50 with these chaps on.
Oh, my God, man.
Yeah,
So these are some memories.
yeah, totally.
Right.
There was
Okay.
a few
Did you ever get real pads?
later on, yeah.
Some rectors or
So-
something?
But dude, that was his mind frame. Like I remember one time, dude. If you would have, if my mother came home 5 minutes later on this date of this story I'm about to tell you,
Yeah.
you'd be addressing me as Jerome.
Okay.
And this is why. My father's name was Jerome.
Okay.
His father's name was Jerome. One day, my mother comes home from work, and my father has me out on the back porch of this big rancher house in the woods that we had where all the people would hang out.
Yeah.
And he has me signing some papers, and I'm about to sign them. And my mother comes over, and she said, Rome, what are you doing? and she grabs the papers, and he had papers drafted up from his attorney changing my name from Brandon to Jerome at like the age of like 9. At 9.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
Insane.
So it's like if my mother was like 2 minutes later, you'd be calling me Jerome.
You're like, Brandon, you'd be like, I don't know who that is
Yeah.
My name was Jesus Christ.
That's fucking crazy.
Wow.
That was just his psyche, man.
Okay.
You know?
Wow. So your mom wasn't scared of him though. Your mom like stood hard and firm with him.
She
right?
did. She
Okay.
did.
Never
She
backed
did.
down to his shit. And
No. But as you know, love is crazy, man.
Right.
Yeah, but your mom seems like a real badass, man.
Yeah.
She reminds me of my mom being from Boston, like
Right.
just raising 3 boys on her own after my dad died.
tough.
Just the shit you've been through as a mom, and you know what I mean, like.
Yeah,
That's
she's been
fucking
around the
hard
block
edge,
a lot,
yeah.
man. And now she's like my spirit animal. She'll know everything about you in like a minute, and
Yeah.
she has, no filter.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if it's just older people in general or my mother, but the older they get, they just don't care.
No, dude.
And how much freedom is in that?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Like they don't care about anything.
Yeah. Fuck. So how long from when you came to California, sponsored by Power, staying at Tony Hawk's,
Yeah.
started drinking alcohol?
Yeah.
How long was that career for with Power or the drugs beginning in there?
So as fate would have it, I ended up going on like one of the tours with Pal and
Bones Brigade tour or something?
Yeah, well, and Vallely had came back.
Wow.
And he was like kind of like the tour manager on the tour. He's
Okay.
the older guy. He was the most responsible.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where my love for skateboarding and newfound infatuation with drugs were colliding. And at the time, I didn't understand the power of addiction, right?
Yeah.
Like I thought that I had this, and people were beginning to overreact, right? So
You're
I'm,
like 14, 15 though.
I'm about 15, going on 16 on this tour, and this is where the why in the road takes place. We're on the tour, and my behaviors had clearly changed. Not only like is Vallely seeing it, but like the rest of the guys on the tour, and I'm not really producing at the demos. I'm just kind of like, I just
Hungover
my
and shit,
priorities
whatever?
are not in
Yeah.
the right place. So finally, he ends up catching me with like a whole bunch of herb on the tour and maybe some pills, I forget. And he says, get rid of the drugs, or like you have to go. And I abided, right? I got rid of the drugs and finished the demo, and then like got a ride back to the very same sewer, which I threw the drugs down
Oh my god.
and got them out. And long
Holy
story
shit,
short,
that's powerful in
I
itself.
get caught with the drugs and then kicked off the tour.
Holy shit. That's just for weed, right?
Yeah, but it was just like, and that's what you would think.
Back-
but
back
at such a
then.
young age, and
Yeah,
just
dude.
like I should not have been that consumed by the getting and using and smoking of weed. Like
Right.
it kind
Yeah.
of started controlling my whole day, depending on what city we were going, where could I get. It's just this insanity.
So they sent you home?
Yeah.
Wow.
Fuck, that's a reality.
And then I'm home, and then I get a call from Todd Hastings, and he's like, "Well, Novak, we can like continue to allow you to ride for Pal." And at this time, I'm designing my pro model, like I'm designing prototypes,
Damn, dude, on the come
Wow,
up.
nice.
and or you can continue to do this and go to treatment, or you can quit. And I didn't have a breath of fresh air in my lungs when I said I quit.
Yeah.
Fuck,
I mean, at that age, I remember just being like, I know everything,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
It's like
I say that, man.
Right.
Like for that, and what I know now that I didn't know then, being the addict and alcoholic that I am, all that simply means is that I'm defiant by nature. I hate authority,
Yeah.
and I'll
Yeah.
never conform.
Right.
Because I possess this job that consists of knowing everything. So thank you, my friend, for kindly suggesting what I maybe should do to save my life, but I'm going to kindly suggest why you should fuck off.
Right.
Because I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And what I ultimately find out walking into my 13th treatment center at the ripe young age of 38, fresh off waking up on life support for 7 days, is that what I do know is that I don't fucking know.
Right.
And my very best thinking, despite these successful accolades that I can share with you, place me here time after time. And ignorance was no longer bliss. I knew, which meant I was to be held accountable. I could no longer deny the writing on the wall that was in my handwriting.
Yeah.
Not
Totally.
your. I couldn't deflect or minimize
Yeah.
the severity of my situation on her, people, places, things. Like the reality is 13 treatment centers later, medevac, 4 different hospitals, 4 different states, 4 different overdoses. My mother bought me a plot.
Psychiatric ward.
Yeah, psychiatric wards. I can no longer deny that the common denominator in my problems are me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I tried and it worked for a while until it just doesn't work. And now it's like, it's of my own doings and my own creation that I'm not allowing myself to get better.
Yeah, when you quit the team, did you get really bad after that? 'Cause
Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck it.
Just like the story we were talking about before air here with my friend.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Now you just go off the rails because there's no more responsibilities.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was the thing. There's some requirements that come along with if you fulfill your dream.
Yeah, did you not care about skating? Soon after that?
Not so much. It was more of a burden.
Damn.
It was a burden, and it was like a heartache because it was the relationship that could have been.
Right.
So I just avoided it.
Did you have any new goals after that?
No,
Damn.
none.
Just getting fucked up.
Yeah, just hanging. But my brain, right? Because here's again what I know now and what I knew then are two completely different things. And what I know now is that I've been diagnosed as an addict or an alcoholic, and all that simply means is that I possess this brain, this delusional alcoholic brain that lies to me in my own voice that makes me believe the unbelievable.
Yeah.
So at the time, I'm like, dude, the skateboarding world needs me. It cannot go on without me, and I am an asset. And in reality, the skateboarding world does not need me. It goes on quite fine without me, and I'm a liability. But unfortunately, because I possess that job that consists of knowing everything, I'm the last person to fucking realize that.
Right.
Fuck, man.
So everyone else is like, dude, you're an idiot.
You're right.
And you never got the Power Pro deck?
No.
Damn.
But the story has a really silver lining,
Okay.
which we'll get to.
Okay. Holy fuck. So now you're back home in Baltimore.
Yeah.
You're not on the team.
Nah.
You're like 16 years old.
Yeah, like packages are no longer being sent. Tours aren't being booked. Flights aren't being scheduled.
Do you remember the first time you started doing heroin? Was
I
it
remember the
after
first night
that
I
tour
did it.
and
Yeah,
everything? Okay.
yeah. So the progression took place,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like it's the herb, it's the drinking.
I love that he calls it herb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the old school style. Murphy's Law style. I love it.
You're like, we had some grass, it's
My father called it grass on
some
the
brown
step down.
bombers.
All right, so obviously you're only drinking there. You're not like doing coke or anything like that. You're 16.
Not yet, right?
Yeah, no, but the progression takes place really quick. So it goes from
In Baltimore.
and it's not even really so
Baltimore's
much.
no joke, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they say there's all kinds of names for that place.
I love The Wire. I was mentioning The Wire when we talk about Baltimore.
Dude, my claim to fame with The Wire is so my grandparents owned the first open air produce market in Baltimore.
Okay.
They were Arabs. They had the horses with the guys that would go through the city and scream like fruits, vegetables.
Wow.
So they had way back then, and then they opened their first open air produce market, which was in East Baltimore.
Okay.
Now, fast forward to the very last episode of The Wire.
Oh, my God.
Very last
About that.
episode.
Such a good show.
Remember Omar?
Yeah.
He
Yes,
gets
of
killed
course.
by the little boy
Yeah.
in the bodega.
Yeah.
That's it.
That
That was-
bodega is called Novak's Produce.
Wow.
Yeah, there we go.
Wow. Holy
Are you
shit.
serious?
Swear on my mother.
Holy
Classic
shit.
scene.
Yeah.
Dropping some gems. That's
Wow.
awesome.
But
Oh my
now,
God.
unfortunately, they
it's a
tore
shocker.
that down.
Oh, man.
It's gone now, right?
Yeah, the store.
I remember that so vividly. I was like
I do
not
remember that.
expecting that. I was like,
I
Are you
did-
old enough to remember the Loft in Baltimore?
Yeah, dude.
Jules, the promoter
Yeah,
Jules. Yeah,
I know the Loft
I used to
well.
go to tons of shows there back in
Totally.
the day.
My guy that makes my suits, Christopher Schaefer.
Okay.
I had a suit place in there. Adam Langford, black
Yeah.
guy, dreadlocks.
Yeah.
I lived with that dude for
Wow. Because I used to live in St. Mary's County.
off North Avenue.
No, I used to live in, I used to
The
live in Southern
Loft.
Maryland. Yeah, the Loft. I used to go to Baltimore and see shows with my brother and shit.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So how old are you?
Yeah.
I'm 40. I'm 50.
42.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
A little bit younger, yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, so,
So-
let's go
yeah,
let's
get back.
let's go to heroin now.
Yeah, so we're on the age.
So drinking, no more skating.
Yeah, drinking.
Fuck.
Not really acquired the taste of alcohol, but I like herb. And my
Yeah.
father, he is a.
He's growing it.
He's growing it, and then he also gets tons of scripts, pharmaceuticals.
Oh.
So he would give me Valiums and sell me the Valiums, and I got into those heavy pills.
That's how you kind of bonded.
Yeah, totally. Oh, we absolutely bonded.
Right.
That way.
Like
Right.
you
Later
remember
on.
when he finally said, I'm growing weed behind this wall.
Well,
right?
no, you know how
you knew it was there.
he ended up selling that house, and one time when the real estate agent came over to sell it, he told us, he said, "Don't you say a word about this room." So what do? The real estate agent comes over. I said, "Hey, my father's," and I got the wrath for that. Man.
Wow.
Yeah. But so the progression takes place, and now I've decided to partake in the business aspect, and I met a guy who's given me like boxes of 10, 20, 30 pounds of, this is like not the herb that's out today, like back then. And
what year would this be?
This is like 94, 3, 2.
Okay.
I was supposed to graduate in 96, about 94.
You're gonna make money, you have to have a job. So
and so that, and I have this ego that's still running rampant, so I still need to remain the fucking man. It's not happening through skateboarding anymore.
Were people reaching out to you from that world, checking in on you and stuff?
Some, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, they were. But then it was different then than now. It wasn't like cell phones. You just text and, it was like, call the rotary phone, call stop by my mom's house.
Yeah, checking on you,
and they're only going to do that so much.
Yeah.
But they did until they didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And here's the reality, because I was successful at my own right at such a young age, before people really realized the severity of my situation, I was like far gone.
Okay.
Because there was no accountability, right?
Yeah.
And then why would they start checking on me now? I've seemed to do pretty good to this point.
Totally. Yeah. Wow. So you start selling weed.
Yeah, I'm doing that, and then
and that's a big deal back then.
It is, and to kind of I'm doing that. The repercussions from that or whatever. The textbook signs, right? I sleep late. I stay out all night. I avoid responsibilities.
And where are you living at that time?
At my mother's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does she know what's going on?
She does, but you got to keep in mind, she's just trying to keep the house afloat.
Totally.
And my father at bay. The kind of household I came from, when you asked my age, and it took me a second, my birth date is either 78 or 77 year, and no one's really sure.
Wow.
My mother doesn't remember. My birth certificate says one thing. My passport says the other. I've given so many aliases that you can't really find it, because that's the kind of household we, it was just a lot going on all the time.
Shit, man.
And
so your age is kind of.
Yeah, and I've been arrested so many times, and I've given so many aliases that
How many times do you think you've been arrested?
Well, to put it in perspective, my last book that just came out, which is also an autobiography, there's people out there that have jobs that fact check these books. And if I say, May of 2003, it was a stormy, rainy day, some book guy out there goes May 2003, oh, it was a sunny, cold day. He's a liar. The whole book's shit. He's a fucking liar. So my co-author, who's insanely meticulous, really smart guy in front and behind his name, he has all these letters and for fact checks, because my life is in a blur for a lot of years. When it comes to and my mom, she's the same way. When it comes to dates, and we're horrible. So what we did was we hired a private investigator, and we said, could you unearth and dig up any arrest that I've ever had? And they're like,
shit.
He's like, what? He's like, most people want to bury that shit. You want me to? And I'm like, please, everything. And the way that we did my timelines, where I'll give you an example. Remember 1999 Y2K? Fear the world was going to shut down. Computers couldn't go over. Yep. So I'm homeless in East Baltimore area, and it was freezing cold. And I remember the night of December 31st, right? Because I'm homeless. I'm in the thick of addiction, and I got two buddies with me. We have bags. We have flashlights. We have crowbars. And as soon as midnight hits and everything shuts down and goes out, we're going and robbing and looting.
Wow,
and it didn't happen. So I ended up. It didn't happen. I'm homeless. I'm cold. It's New Year's Eve. New Year's Day. I got a crowbar and an empty sack. New Year's Day, I went to rehab. So that's kind of how I could remember my timelines off of my arrests or things of that nature. It puts me back.
Do you kind of want to get arrested if you're homeless in the freezing cold to have a place to sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. Rehabs and jails become really popular and crowded in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a reprieve.
Fuck, man. So do we have a total?
No, I don't. I have
Over 20 times.
Oh, that's a walk in the park. Yeah.
Wow,
I have
dude.
a picture I could show you of
All the photos.
Yeah, it's there on my phone.
And you were arrested in the hospital, too, after you broke your ankle.
Yeah,
right?
that was one of them. Yeah, I didn't even know
You
that.
broke your ankle on the Jackass set or something, right?
Yeah. I broke both my ankles.
Fuck. Was Jackass 3D or some shit?
Yeah.
And they arrested you.
2 or 3.
They arrested you in.
At the hospital. So I'm on my way to the hospital, and there's this a state trooper following. And they're like, dude, there's a state trooper. And I'm like, yeah, it's just an escort. Whatever, get me there quicker. That's what I thought, dude.
Get you fixed up right away.
Jackass escort.
But it's behind the car. It's not in front. So
Yeah,
I should have
yeah.
known that it's not a fucking escort.
Holy shit.
So I get to the hospital. I had broken both my ankles. And I'm strung out at this point anyways.
Right.
And I get in there, and all of a sudden this state trooper comes, and he said, Mr. Novak? I said, yeah. He said, we've been looking for you for 2 years now. And he takes the handcuffs and right to the bed.
Right.
Now, keep in mind, we're in full force filming Jackass.
Yeah.
So now, like, not only am I going to go through serious detox directly to jail, I'm going to miss out on all these bits that I can do.
Yeah, dude.
Which means, like, I'm going to lose. And then in a lot of different ways.
Right.
Holy fuck. For 2 years?
2 years.
And
All
you
kinds
know-
of warrants and shit?
Well, you would think all kinds. You would think I'm like Billy the Kid on the run,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
fuck's sake.
You had no idea.
I don't want to talk bad, but they really didn't put much effort into finding
Okay,
me.
of course,
Or,
yeah.
So what happened was, a little over 2 years ago, I wake up at Bam's house, and I don't feel good that day. I'm withdrawing. I don't have any drugs on me. And I have this leather jacket with all these pockets in. So I just happen to unzip a pocket, and I pull out a script that a friend had written me from Baltimore. It was a stolen pad. I knew it. And it was a dentist. It was from a dentist office. And it was for like 8 oxycodone, 30 milligrams. Which I thought could maybe work, right? It's not for like 50 or 60. It's a dentist. They don't give you a lot of pain pills.
Yeah.
So I go to a Rite Aid, and I pull in, and I go in, and I hand the script to the lady, and she goes in the back, and all of a sudden she's on the phone, and she said, yeah, he's got a black leather jacket on, a black fedora, and he's driving a black Mercedes. And with that, I just leave.
Right.
Don't ever think about it ever again in my life. Fast forward to 2 years later.
Oh my
Holy
God.
shit, dude.
It's a felony, passing scripts. It's a whole.
And you were on Bam's radio show, and you mentioned that you were using somebody else's urine.
Yeah. So originally they sentenced me to 30 weekends and 6.5 months house arrest.
Yes.
Was my original sentence.
Yeah, it's a correctional facility thing.
Yeah. So at the time, we have a show on Sirius Satellite Radio.
Yeah.
Which we do in Bam's home. Very similar to this. There's a guy working the boards, 8 of us partying, cutting rails,
wow.
just
Jesus.
totally uncensored, just like, my claim to fame for that show was, when Sirius started, it was like uncensored.
Yeah.
Anything goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, and here we go.
Thanks, Howard Stern.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
So one day we're doing the show, and we decide that we're going to mic me up. I'm going to drive into Philly. I'm going to get a hooker. I'm going to bring the hooker back, and I'm going to fuck her live on air.
Right.
Oh, my God.
2 hookers, I thought.
No, it was too. It was-
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So they start finding out. I forget about that. They start finding out that this is happening, and all the lawyers are calling
They're like,
the legal department, like, do not
absolutely
do
not.
this.
Do
Do
not."
not.
Holy
Tell us don't, and we're doubling down. I do it, and they literally pulled the plug on our show. We were the first show ever on Sirius Satellite Uncensored Radio to become censored,
to be said. Holy shit.
which is like some Howard Stern shit in its own right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy fuck.
Yeah. So anyways, that was just a quick side note.
No, that's amazing. But somebody, some staff from the facility heard the radio show where you talked about the urine, right?
So we're doing the show, and when you're
Fucking
partying
crazy.
in a room like this, you forget that on Sirius it's going out across the nation, uncensored. And our show was live as a matter of fact.
man.
So all of a sudden, I'm talking to my friends, what it seems like, and I'm telling them about how the guards and the employees at this particular facility.
You said the name, yeah.
And at the time, I was like not where I'm at today, so I was really disrespectful and didn't take people's livelihoods or feelings into
Totally.
consideration. And I totally outed them and said how like my dead grandmother could do a better job. These fat, like, just really ignorant, vile
Damn.
stuff. And I said, every weekend I sneak my drugs in up my ass, and then I also sneak in some piss, because I have to give a urine every weekend that I'm in there. And I totally lay out the blueprint. So that's on a Monday night was our radio show.
Yeah.
Friday night I go to turn myself in for the weekend. They do like a roll call. And they say, Novak. And I'm like, yep. And I go to get in line with the rest of the people. They said, no, you're over here. And I'm like, what? Oh, you're over here. They take me. They still don't tell me what's happening. And they put me into the intake unit where the rest of the inmates are that have just been arrested. Right?
Holy
They switch me out. Now I'm switched out of my clothes. I got the jumpsuit on.
Are you tripping? You're like,
Tripping, dude. Still got my shit. So I get in my cell and I get it out and I do it. So I'm really high, thank God. So I go right to bed. But about a day and a half in, I hear a bang on the door. Novak, come on. And I'm like, yes, they fixed the mistake. I'm going back to the weekend block. I'm going home. And it's a sergeant. And we call the sergeants white shirts because they wear white shirts. It's a white shirt, and he takes me. I think I'm just going back, problem solved. They take me into this, and this is at the time it was a privately ran facility.
Yeah.
It was on the list of like the 5 most corrupt privately ran facilities in the nation. Like, it was legit, and they take me to this office where all the other sergeants, aka white shirts, were. And there's a big circle of white shirts. And then there's one sitting in the corner on the computer, and he's just typing, and he won't look at me. And they put me in the middle of the circle. And the guy who will not look at me is clearly the boss. He starts repeating the radio show verbatim. And as he starts repeating the show,
my God, dude.
they start fucking laying in on me. And I'm getting it from him physically.
Wow. Oh, shit,
And he's like, you think it's funny? He's like, you're going to do it again? And now I'm in the belly of the beast. It got really real, really quick.
And it's a Friday, so you're fucking in there for whatever. Yeah.
So ultimately, what happened was, I'm in there for whatever. I'm in there for my full sentence. They never let me back
So
out.
it's 10 months or something.
11 and a half months.
Wow.
But while I was in there, they made my life a living hell. They would come in and they would turn the whole block
the guy
over.
from Jackass, you're like this crazy.
Yeah, and I insulted them. I was very demeaning towards them. So they'd move me around. At first, they put me in the hole for the first 90 days. For 90 days, I could not leave.
90 days by yourself.
It was like some Shawshank Redemption type shit, like for real. For 90 days, I was in the hole. You get your 3 meals a day.
90 days.
And you're withdrawing, too.
Withdrawing from Xanax, methadone, and heroin.
Bro.
The only thing you can have is the Bible if you happen to have it. If not, you just lay in your cell. You're allowed out once a day for a shower, and you have to be in handcuffs and shackles. And you can get mail. No TV, no books. It's like the military. They like built me down to break me. They broke me down to build me up.
Yeah,
a deal.
It's completely inhumane.
Yeah. Well, since then it's changed. And it's no longer privately ran.
Jesus Christ. I mean, break you down is right. I mean, it's breaking literally your mental stability down. You have somebody in isolation for such a long time.
Literally. I remember. Funny story. There was a young kid on the bunk above me. His name was Streets. And he was a really good musician.
Streets.
Yeah, and I remember, like, I'm withdrawing, I'm detoxing, and the only thing that feels good at times like that is to like jerk off. It's the only thing that allows me to like
stress release. All that.
It's like it's almost like as close as I can get to a drug. So
Yeah.
one day I'm like trying to sneak it out down there, and he's like, yo, what are you doing? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, yo, I feel a certain kind of way about this. He didn't say what kind of way, but he felt a way.
Yeah.
But at one point, I was delusional because of the Xanax and the methadone and the detox of that. I thought that I was on The Price is Right.
What?
Yeah, I was starting to see all these things that weren't there. I I thought that the warden was sleeping with my girlfriend.
Wow.
Fuck, man.
Crazy. And so then after I complete my 90 days in the hole, they move me to these different blocks. And when they put me on the block, I'd be there for a day and a half, and all of a sudden the CERT team would come in and literally destroy the whole block. So the other inmates were like, dude, if this motherfucker wasn't on the block, we wouldn't be getting turned over. So I made the blocks hot. So they figured if they can't fuck with me enough, they're just going to make and thank God the inmates, kind of worked with me. But like I go in there, I have one of my favorite tattoos. I love gay people. I have nothing against it, but in our thing, just gay humor is really funny humor. But more so in skateboarding. Right. Skateboarders don't fare well with rollerbladers. Right. This is kind of the arch enemies.
Never have.
For me, it was BMXs in the 80s.
Oh, was that the thing?
Skateboarding, BMX. Sorry, dude. Okay,
FDR, no bikes. That's all they scream. No bikes. But then it became rollerbladers. Okay. So on my arm here, which is like one of my favorite tattoos, I have, two dudes fucking doggy style, it's gay, whatever, cool. But two dudes banging missionary style while staring at each other in their eyes is like really up there. But these guys have rollerblades on.
Oh my God.
So they're in this like patch with a gay flag and so the point of the story is.
That's your tattoo?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that I end up becoming incarcerated. I'm like the prime billboard of please rape me.
Wow, man.
I got these guys humping on my arm. I got a tattoo of Bam's cum on my other arm.
Oh my God.
Just all these crazy party things.
But you're the crazy guy
so
too.
They're like, dude, if it was anybody else,
oh my God, you'd
be in for it.
Right.
So
but with you, we expect.
You got some love in there, but not that kind of love.
I did totally, and like my cellie at one point was the head Muslim guy, this guy Jihad, and he was phenomenal. And I fasted and I prayed with him. I took on all these different like experiences.
Right. Did you read a lot?
I did. I read a lot. I read a lot, and I wrote a lot.
Was it easy? I mean, were there still drugs being brought into prison? Because I know I always hear a lot of stories about how easy it is and how sometimes it's cheaper, the drugs that you can get in prison and things like that. And people are like, I'm still getting high inside.
Plus, we watched 60 Days In.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of that.
And we watched Oz.
Yeah, we
watched a good one.
We've seen all those shows, and I've talked to a lot of people talking about how easy it is to get drugs inside prison.
Yeah,
sure. So was that something that was you noticed in prison? Were you still doing drugs while you were in prison?
I did cocaine one time.
Wow.
Okay.
And I could have acquired things, but the fact is I was too scared to inhabit or inherit a drug debt.
Oh,
right. Like I wanted no part of like owing somebody something.
Oh,
okay,
or a favor or anything.
Yeah, anything could happen. We could go on lockdown, like
commissary for some shit.
Or it doesn't come, or my money order gets lost. Like I understand and realize what the definition of the word accident means. So, and I was smart enough to know, like, dude, don't. So
in a way, did that help? I'm sorry, Toby.
No, my God, man.
Is that a way like help you to sober up because you weren't using, or?
I really wanted to better my life at that point. Like I did. But unfortunately, my vision was skewed. I didn't understand enough about the disease from which I suffer from. And although my intentions were for the best, my actions didn't equate. So I wasn't really willing to do everything that was suggested in order for me to remain abstinent. So like I wasn't going to, when I was coming out, I was done with pills. I was done with heroin. I was done with cocaine. Wanted no parts of any of that. But I want to drink wine. Because I like wine. I don't shake when I don't have it. I don't steal to get it. Yeah. Like what's the problem?
Yeah. Was that 2010?
Yeah, I think around. That sounds about right.
Then you had like 6 months home arrest?
No, I did all my time out.
Okay, sick.
All in. And they released me New Year's Eve.
Holy shit.
New Year's Eve.
And how'd you do that night?
Horrible. I went and got loaded alcohol. I stayed away from the pills.
Okay.
So I set out for I completed my goal, I guess.
Yeah. You got drunk on wine? No.
Yeah. Okay. Totally.
Wow.
And it took about. I remember, man. I met a biker in the joint, and his name was Biggs. He was the sergeant of arms for a bike organization.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, I get these Percocet 30s, and when we get out, let's have lunch. And I knew that meeting him for lunch was going to be my demise. And that day I met him, he handed me a handful, and I go into the bathroom stall at lunch, and I had to tell my then fiance, look, I promise I'll be good, because she's on me. She's just terrified of my demise here. And I go into the bathroom, and I sit down, and I crush 2 pills up. And before I start to bend over and sniff them, I start crying uncontrollably, because I know that as soon as I do this, I'm all in. And there's no turning back. My habit will develop.
Right,
I'll acquire this need for it. I'll have a physical dependency, a mental obsession, and I'll not ever be able to escape from this until something really bad happens, whether it's jails, institutions, overdoses.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop myself. It was like, it's like slow motion, like The Matrix.
Yeah.
I remember bending down, and I'm like, this is it. I don't want,
I mean, I see movies like that all the time too. It's like this is like real life shit.
That's
like, don't do it, please. Don't do it. Don't take that
but
fucking.
It's addiction. It's like you were saying, you had this attitude or this feeling inside you from when you were a child, all in.
Yeah.
Like with skateboarding.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to do it 100%. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like this. There's no if and but. It's like extreme.
Yeah.
And it seems with a lot of addicts, they can't help themselves. It's a sickness where
it's a disease.
It's a disease,
man. Yeah.
And what I've learned about it is, and this is a factual statement I'm about to share, and it cannot be refuted. It can't be.
Yeah.
If you've been diagnosed as an addict or an alcoholic, all that simply means is that you have now been diagnosed with a disease that, if left untreated, equals death. It's a fatal disease. You can look it up in any medical dictionary. It's facts. But here's the powerful, scary part about it. It's the only fatal disease that I've ever been diagnosed with that tells me on a daily basis that I don't have this disease. And it lies to me in my own voice, which makes me believe the unbelievable. So it's not like there's this strange, unrecognizable voice that comes in my head that says, you're good. It's my voice.
Right.
So it's not like, stranger danger, get out of here. No, it's my voice.
Right.
Yeah.
So everything is good.
Follow me. Diagnosed me with HIV. I'm rushing to the hospital to get medication. I don't want to die. Fatal disease. Diagnosed me with cancer. I'm rushing to the hospital to get chemo. I don't want to die. Fatal disease.
Yeah.
Diagnosed me as an addict or an alcoholic. I need a glass of wine or a bag of heroin to figure out what the fuck's wrong with you for diagnosing me with said disease.
Wow, man.
Just as fatal as the first 2 diseases.
Totally.
But left to my own devices, stop
Holy
doing my
shit.
upkeep, the things that I have to do on a daily basis in
And
order to
it's a fight
maintain.
you against you, though, too. Always.
All the time.
All the time.
Like, you have full control. Like, fuck, man. That's crazy, man.
So when you really start to dig deep down that rabbit hole, which most people don't, because thank God they don't suffer with the disease. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
But it really gets deep and convoluted and like intricate. But it's really fascinating and it's really simple. It's magical. It's so simple. Me as a recovering alcoholic, and I've seen me do it. It's so easy for me to outthink myself out of it because I'm too smart for my own good.
Yeah.
But that's.
Were your parents in the mix, like worried about you during all these shit started happening? Like,
my mother sold 3 homes to pay for me to go to 2 different treatment centers.
Dude.
Because I don't
what
have
a fucking mom, dude.
Yeah,
Holy shit, dude.
she bought 9 years ago. She spent Mother's Day going out and buying 2 plots, one for me and one for her. Because she was in fear that, like, if she dies, who's gonna take care of me? I was gone, man.
Were you coming back in and out of their lives, like trying to get sober and stay at the house, or?
I would. I made a lot of attempts and a lot of the boy who cried wolf, but it wasn't really so much.
I'm different now. I'm changed. I'm better.
But I believed it. It wasn't like But my disease, the severity of the disease was so powerful. But I was incapable of seeing it, right?
Yeah.
Because, and what was even worse is that I had done some things in life that people would equate to success or happiness. So you couldn't tell me that I really didn't know what was going on, or I couldn't get myself out of it.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Did your mom have to give you a lot of tough love at sometimes?
Yeah. The best thing
like you
that
can't come in anymore. You can't come home, or
2 times that took place. The very first time was when she kicked me out of her house for good in Baltimore when I was 19 years old.
Okay.
I came home. I'm using her house as just like at my disposal. Drug friends, drug dealers, drug things in and out. All people showing up with guns looking for my mother, saying that they want the money that I owe them.
Fuck, dude.
Were
you stealing things from the house, selling shit
totally,
like that?
yeah.
Fuck,
that was just kind of par for the course. But the thing with addiction is that it's not personal; it's just business.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do it. I really like you, Toby, but like
Yeah.
I'm sick, and when you go to the bathroom, I'm gonna steal these microphones. Like I don't want to do that, but like.
Even to your mom, even to your
straight
fucking loved
up,
ones.
yeah. Like the disease from which I possess does not allow me to sit things out because they don't seem like a good decision for my life.
Yeah.
Like that's if I could control it, I wouldn't.
Fuck.
It gets tough, man. And so I come home one day at 19, and a common theme in my story is that the lock stopped working. Like it's just that's one of the commonalities in my story.
Yeah.
And I come home and God damn it, the lock didn't work. And my mother's on the other side of this big glass door, and she's crying uncontrollably. And she says, "Brandon, I can't do this anymore."
Fuck.
No. And what I've learned now in retrospect is that my life is live forward and learn backwards. So at the time, I'm like, how dare you?
Right.
Yeah, you brought me in. And then I'd play this card. If you didn't continue to let dad in, I wouldn't be in this position.
Oh,
man. Right.
Pulling on every heartstring. Because at that point, I'm a strung out heroin addict. So if you tell me you love me, I equate that word love to $10.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. If you love me, just give us one more time.
Yeah.
$5. Yeah.
I'll use it to carry on is almost a lifeline.
Damn, it's hard for a mom. I can't even imagine my son. It's fucking heavy shit, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but now what I recognize, having remained sober long enough to recognize the synchronicity in life's events that have led me to literally to the right here, right now, that prove to me that the God of my understanding has been doing for me way before I could do for myself. That was one of the best things that she ever done.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
Totally. Without repercussions from my actions, I'll believe that I have this under control.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've been sober 6 years now?
May 25th will be 6 years.
It's amazing.
Coming up on 6 years.
And before that, what was the longest? Was it the 33 days you did?
Yeah, I went to treatment and I came out and I did 30 days.
That was 2008.
Yeah, and every day I was miserable as could be.
And what was the trigger that pulled you back in after those 30 days?
I never wanted to stop. Like I wanted to stop because I went to treatment and remember I always wanted to drink wine and my therapist said to me, he said, Novak, you're different. At the bottom of your wine glass is a rig every time, meaning a needle.
Right.
And I thought about that, and this is where I fucked up. My then fiance came to visit me, and she didn't understand the disease concept, and rightfully so. And she goes, when you come out, if you just drink, and looking back, I said, babe, I can't drink because they told me at the bottom of my wine glass is a needle every time.
Yeah.
And she took that and ran with it. And I'm like, I was overreacting.
Oh my God.
Like I told on myself.
Have you had more than one fiance?
Yeah, twice.
Wow.
Twice.
I was going to say it must have been difficult to maintain a relationship.
He's a very handsome, outgoing person too. So it's like
I was like my father.
The charm.
I became my father. Mm-hmm. My father would walk in the pub. He'd buy everyone shots. He'd throw the bag on the table, cut the rails. Life of the party. You got the joke. Women in abundance, and it just couldn't stay faithful, and his family couldn't stand him.
And then how'd you end up in a psychiatric ward? Was it suicidal behavior thoughts? Or?
Yeah, I don't recall it. I don't recall it, but we have the transcripts from that. And Joe Franz, my co-author, he filmed the CKY videos. He was the guy that filmed CKY.
Shout out to CKY, man.
Yeah, totally. He filmed those movies and then went on to film Viva La Bam. And it's, here's how my book came to fruition. I don't have a high school diploma. I didn't at the time have a GED. I got my GED later on while I was incarcerated.
Okay.
And it wasn't that I wanted to become this scholastic person and say I'm knowledged. Yeah. No, what happened was in the particular facility that I was incarcerated in, if you they had these GED courses, and if you passed the GED, they gave you a pizza party supplied by Domino's. so
Goals.
So
Wow.
I fucking aced that thing.
Thanks, Domino's, for your.
Wow.
I aced it.
So the pizza party was on you. That's sick.
So I get my GED after my first book is published, right?
Okay.
But I here's how the first book comes to fruition. I have no desire. I don't even read at the time, but I could care less. But we're filming Viva La Bams.
Yep.
Bam Margera, one of my
Great
best
show,
friends.
man. Great show.
Love him and praying for him. I credit him very much so for saving my life. There were a lot of people that have, but he got me out of Baltimore City. And what that looked like was this. Bam and I met at Cheapskates, skate park in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I know the spot.
One weekend, Bucky and I drove from Baltimore. We would go there to skate. We walk in. I'm riding for Pal. Bucky's riding for Pal. Bam's not sponsored at the time, but we walk into Cheapskates and there's my doppelganger. We dress the same.
Wow.
We skate the same. Consistent skaters, contest skaters, transition skaters, you name it, it's there. And
Holy
I'm like, fuck yeah. Oh fuck. Because I know that he's gonna be a problem in me getting to the top here. Like we're gonna.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, we become best friends.
Yeah.
His career continues to excel and with serious like benefits, and mine completely declines, and I become homeless. So one year, usually we'd practice all year for this contest, the NSAs, which took place at Bricktown, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And either he would win or I would win. And one year I don't show up, but Bucky shows up, and Bam's like, "Yo, where's Novak?" And Bucky's like, "He's on heroin." And Bam's like, "What's that?"
Wow.
So young, right?
Holy
Hadn't even heard the
shit,
word,
man.
just to put that in perspective of when I was in the game. So
Holy shit.
so he continues, makes the CKYs, makes his first million, and just blows up. I'm like just become homeless, prostituting my body in Baltimore, just going to the depths of despair with addiction. And there's this skate shop in Fells Point called Select Skate Shop.
Okay.
And one day they had the Toy Machine team there to do a demo, and Bam was one of those guys. And while he was in there, he said, "Yo, do you guys ever see Novak?" And they said he comes in occasionally to try to get some money. And Bam said, "Here's my number. Next time he comes in, tell him if he wants to get clean to call me."
Wow.
As fate would have it, I walked in the very next day, and I said, "Yo, can I get some money?" They're like, "No." But Bam was here, and he left you his number. You call him.
Holy shit.
I go to the payphone at the time. Phone calls are 50 cents,
Yeah.
right? And I'm homeless, so 50 cents is like $1 million to me.
Yeah.
And I got to like hang up before the machine picks up so I get the money back deal, I
remember that.
And I called the number, and Bam was still very cautious and didn't want to give me his home number, so he gives me the skate shop's number in Westchester Fairman's.
Okay.
I call, and Dave Fairman answers. He's like, "Yo, Novak." I'm like, I thought this is Bam's house. He's like, "No, but he literally just walked out the door. Let me go get him, because I don't have another 50 cents. Like, this is my one
That's it,
shot."
man.
Just
Yeah.
like all these
You're
synchronicities.
one call from jail, pretty much.
Literally. So he's like, "Hold on, don't hang up." So he runs out of the skate shop, goes to the sushi place, and comes out, gets Bam on the phone. And Bam's like, "Do you want to get clean? You want to start skating again?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay." And he buys me a Greyhound bus ticket, and that's
Holy
my
shit, man.
my transition from Baltimore to Pennsylvania. Now,
Wow.
while I'm there, they're filming Viva La Bam. And he says, "Look, you can be on the show, you can do this, but no heroin, no pills, right? Like, just stay away from downers." Like, I could drink, and blow was okay because they socially acceptable.
Oh boy.
You can drink your wine.
It's all right. You can have your wine.
Totally.
A glass of wine or so.
Well, because I don't steal when I don't have it. I don't rob you for your
again,
wallet.
your head, inside your head is speaking to you.
Totally.
Again, like, yeah.
It's okay. I can
It's
do this.
okay.
It made sense to me.
Right.
Holy shit.
So then all of a sudden, when we'd finish filming for the day, we'd go to a pub in town, the cast and the crew, and at a table of like literally 40. And a bar. And Bam was always infatuated with the stories and the positions I found myself in as a direct result of my addiction.
Okay.
Strangely fascinated. As a matter of fact, my
Living vicariously through you, kind of.
Totally.
Yeah.
And my very first tattoo that I ever got was straight from the directions of him. He made me get no more heroin on my stomach.
Wow.
Like just trying. He's like, if you ever want to do it, think of that before you do it. And it sounded like a good idea. Little did I know, a tattoo's not going to cure my addiction. But that was my very first tattoo.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know some people with straight edge tattoos who drink, so
it doesn't really hold. That's why I would never get like my sobriety date.
Right,
I feel like
right,
that'd be
right.
a curse or something.
Yeah, that would be a definite.
You never see guys with their names.
but listen,
Yeah.
don't get it twisted, listen. It's not me. I'm no to the X. It's not me. I'm not saying other people.
All
Anyway,
right,
go
all
ahead.
right, Toby.
People get all excited.
all hot and bothered.
Okay, so go ahead.
So I'm telling these stories. You could literally hear a pin drop. People were strangely fascinated by these stories. So 2-3 days in, Bam said, you know what? New deal. This is a new deal. You're going to write a book. He said, you're going to write a book. You can live in my house. You can be on the show. You can get a weekly paycheck. You can have a credit card. You're going to write a book. You are going to carry around a pen and paper. The very first time, you don't have to be writing in it, but the very first time I don't see you with a notebook and a pen in your hand, the deal's off. You're going back to Baltimore.
That's a fucking friend, man.
So let's
Fuck,
weigh the
man.
scales of justice. Either I walk around with a notebook and a pen in my hand, or I go back to letting men blow me for heroin in
Yeah,
Baltimore.
yeah.
Pretty
But
easy.
you were still an addict at that
Drinking and like, but I guess I would
Fuck,
say
man.
functioning, if you will. Like
Yeah.
it took a lot of tries to get here because I would always be like, dude, Bam, I got to go back to Baltimore to get like my favorite pair of jeans. I'd always
Right.
look for a reason to get out,
Right.
so I could do what I was gonna do.
Right.
He'd kick me out, bring me back. I mean, this was
Okay.
a wash, rinse, repeat over a lot of years.
All right. Yeah.
What a fucking friend, though. Man.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
I mean, even when his own parents are like, dude, Phil Abe's like, leave him alone.
Right.
Like, you're
You can't
only going to
help
get
him or
hurt.
something.
He's
Yeah.
unhelpable.
Yeah.
Like, straight up. And rightfully so.
Yeah. I mean, you were
I
the only
get it.
person that was going to be able to.
Fix me.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that at the time. So now at this point, I have no high school diploma. I have no GED. I'm still drinking, drugging. Now, I'm not writing this like recovery story. I'm just writing my life. So I'm no fool. I go and I look at books and I realize that books are generally written in 12 chapters. I write my whole book pen and paper. I don't do laptops. I skip that whole era.
Yeah.
I write it in 12 chapters. But during the interim, Bam had assigned Franz to be my co-author, the creator of CKYs. And Franz is like, fuck, please don't do this to me, Bam. Please. He begged him.
Wow.
Because like my behavior stated that I
Right.
don't ever see anything through. I am
Right.
complete hell on earth. And this is going to be a major headache for him. And waste his time, which, as we
Yeah.
know, is the most important thing that we have.
Totally.
Now I
Yeah.
see that. So, unbeknownst to everybody, I'm writing this, and I have a very special place in my heart for addiction. And what this allowed me to do was, while writing this, it allowed me to go back to that place without physically going back to that place. So I got really into it. So I wrote like a chapter or two, and I kept writing. And about a year later, I went back to Bam and I said, I think I'm done. And he takes it and he reads it. He's like, holy fuck. Gives it to Franz. Franz is like, we have something here.
Holy shit.
And then Bam gets his manager to get me a literary agent.
Wow.
Okay.
And then with that literary agent, Franz takes my 12 chapters and turns it into 23 chapters.
Holy shit.
Tony Hawk writes the foreword for it.
Wow,
They shop it around, and in Kensington Publishers, Citadel Press buys my book. It's now being sold at Barnes & Nobles. I'm receiving hundreds of thousands of pieces of mail from all over the world of people being like, Novak, I read your book. I didn't want my story to get as bad as yours. I have 30 days clean and sober.
Holy shit. I got goosebumps, man.
But the thing
Fucking
is,
awesome.
I wrote that book while sniffing copious amounts of cocaine and
Right.
drinking endless amounts of red wine. Wow. So, like, if you think that, like, I was going to become open-minded and willing enough to walk into a treatment center and say, I don't know, but you do. Can you help me? You've lost your mind.
Yeah.
Because now, like, I'm saving people's lives from addiction. But I can't keep a needle out of my arm.
Right. Right.
Holy fuck,
So,
man.
it's like this juxtaposition paired with the fact that I have this delusional alcoholic brain that lies to me in my own voice that makes me believe the unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I don't know up from down, hot from cold, right from left.
Holy shit. So did you hit rock bottom after that somehow?
Yeah, after that, it took some
I mean, you had near-death experiences after that?
Oh, multiples. And here's what my bottom looked like, because we could just go on. I mean, I have a 24-year addiction and alcoholism story that just takes you all over the road. But at the end, what happened was I came to on life support in Baltimore City at Mercy Hospital, the very same hospital that my mother's on the board of. Right?
Holy shit.
And I had been there for 7 days, and my mother, who's on the board of the hospital, they were going to pull the plug. And my mother came in and said, absolutely not. This is my son. You will not do that. And the very next morning I came to.
Oh, my God.
You're in a coma, you said?
Yeah.
7 days.
7 days. And I came to the next morning. And my bottom this time externally wasn't as bad as my other bottoms. You know, I still had some resources. I had some ways and means. But by far it was the worst bottom I ever hit because my bottom came up to meet me. Because I just knew that it didn't have to be this way. And the reality is, prior to this date, without fail, every time I injected or I inhaled or I consumed a drink or a drug in any way, shape, or form, without fail, it would produce a delusional effect, which would allow me to escape my reality. No matter where I was at or what I was doing.
Yeah.
So does homeless suck? Yes. Shoot some heroin? Oh, it's actually enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know,
I like it
like
out here. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
It's fresh air.
Wow.
You know? It's,
Think like, okay, what's the most boring thing in the world to you? Reading a Bible. Okay, shoot some heroin. Reading a Bible is like Disneyland. You know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to give that juxtaposition. Like I love the Bible, but you know, to some people, whatever.
Wow.
But what do I do when I'm a 38-year-old homeless heroin addict? Everything that I own in this world literally consists of 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, a stick of deodorant that fits into this bag that I carry around that doubles as my pillow, a needle, a spoon, and a restraining order that my mother had served on me to physically be removed from her house. 38 years old, just woke up on life support. I've been in 12 inpatient treatment centers. I've lost count of outpatients and detoxes. My mother's bought me a plot. People have taken life insurance policies out on me. I've been medevac to 4 different hospitals in 4 different states from 4 different overdoses. I reside on the corner of Eastern Avenue and Patterson Park in Baltimore City, prostituting my body just to secure enough finances for one more bag. I like want to kill myself on a daily basis, but I'm just terrified to hurt myself in the process.
Yeah.
I'm in a position in life where I'm so low curb like a skyscraper, and at 38 years old, I realized that, like, you know, the story just continues to go, and it's. But what I realized is that, like, I am the problem, right? And all those attempts at all those facilities, I don't chalk up as a failure.
Yeah.
Because what happened is there was a seed planted in each one of those attempts. And May 25th, 2015, I was divinely inconvenienced in just such a way, shape, and form where God saw fit to stand between me and the last drug that I ingested just long enough for me to have that moment of clarity to see what my life had really become.
Yeah.
And no matter how much I was doing, that delusional effect was no longer being produced. So they talk about having that moment of clarity. My moment of clarity was happening when I was high and when I was sober. It stopped working. And what do I do when the one thing that I've relied and depended on, that I've given everything to, I've given it, you know, careers, women, jobs, accounts, homes, sexual. I've given
family,
everything. My life, I've given it all, and it's fine because it always answers.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't even answer because I knew better.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they say, try drinking a glass of wine when it's cut with AA. Or shooting a glass or shooting a bag of heroin when it's cut with NA. Like, it doesn't sit so well because you know.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of the point where I got to, which we refer to as like the jumping off point, where I could actually, the pain, I was beaten into a state of reasonableness.
Okay.
You know, I was demoralized in just such a fashion from drugs and alcohol that I had finally become willing to do what it took to get myself out of that position. I no longer justified or minimized the severity of my disease.
Yeah.
I stopped deflecting. I took accountability for my actions.
Shit's fucking heavy, man. It's crazy.
You know, and like, what I did was I dumbed my way into this. Because before I would always outthink myself out of this.
Yeah.
And what I did was I was just beaten so bad that all I could do was shake my head yes. This prime example, I go into the same treatment center for the 4th time.
Wow.
Out of my 13 attempts. And this last 4 places at the same place, I'd sit in the same chair with the same intake coordinator, and she would say, okay, Mr. Novak, your insurance covers 90 days. And my response without fail every time was, in theory, 90 days sounds great, but in reality, I'm more of like a 45-day kind of fella. I have this job to fulfill, this state to go to.
Yeah.
And she'd laugh at me each and every time and say, sweetheart, you have no idea. Anything and everything you put in front of your recovery doesn't matter because you'll lose it. May 25th, 2015, I found myself in the same exact chair with the same exact woman, and she gave me the same offer. But what was different this day, when she gave me that offer, I could not come back with a counter offer. I was beaten so bad, I was so worn out, that all I could do was shake my head yes.
Yeah.
Because if I said no, that entailed an explanation as to why I couldn't stay 90 days.
Okay.
I finally just started listening. I literally was beaten speechless by my disease of addiction, thank God. Like I couldn't even talk. I was just done. I was so spent.
Yeah.
And thank God.
Yeah.
And what I know that to be now is I had that gift of desperation. I had met God.
Wow.
Straight up. And it's a gift. It's a gift.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't receive that gift, hence them not, and I turned my pain into my purpose, man. I turned my mess into my message, and I just became a sponge, and I started absorbing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And
how hard was that to get clean at that?
It was, dude. It was
a long process.
It was super. I don't have to knock on wood. It was super easy for me this time.
Okay.
Because I bought in. I bought into the concept 100%. Not
Pretty
like
much surrendered yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I grabbed onto a mentor, a sponsor, someone who had like serious sobriety for multiple years and knew the deal. And I'm like, dude, I don't know, but you seem to, so please show me the way. And he says, do that. I'm not like, okay, I'll do A, B, C, maybe, D. I'm like, dude, bring it on. And I've continued, and I took heed to what they said, because I wasn't scared of like using and dying. That would have been a relief.
Yeah.
My fear and my impending doom in hell was like using and not dying and waking up every day to do things against my will to secure enough finance to get another whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, let's do it. And they told me things in treatment like, stick to the basics. So God willing, you don't have to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
Remember, you suffer from a disease called alcoholism, not alcoholism. You can't stay sober on yesterday's sobriety. It has a shelf life of 24 hours.
Wow.
And I do the same thing today that I did 20 days in. Straight up.
Same thing.
Yeah, I wake up every day. I make my bed. I get on my knees. I thank God. I work with other alcoholics. Basically, what it is it's a triangle. I trust God, I clean house, and I help others. And as long as those are connected, I cannot fail.
Yeah.
I'm an active participant.
And it's working. It's been 6 years. It's amazing.
Why fix it if it's not broken?
Yeah. Is it two things? A couple of things. First of all, you should have your own podcast, or there's got to be an audiobook for your book, right? Because your voice.
That was the thing. The audiobook.
Wonderful.
Well, thanks, man. I've never been told.
It just sounds great listening to you tell the story.
Definitely.
I feel like I'm listening to an audiobook. It's crazy, man.
They said the audiobook is it can be pirated very easy.
Okay.
So they wouldn't do that. They didn't want me to do that.
You should have a documentary as well.
But that's in the works.
Should definitely have a documentary.
Because back in the day when I was getting high, these people said, "Hey, would you want to do a documentary about your life?" And I'm like, "Sure." And they said, "We'll pay you cash on hand for every interview." I'm in the midst of my addiction, so I'm just like, "This is great heroin money."
Right.
Holy shit.
So they have all the actual footage to where there would not even need to be a voiceover.
Plus your skate footage, all that stuff.
Everything. And as a matter of fact, before I went to this last treatment, they had a secret meeting that I was not privy to, and they said, "How are we going to guide and direct the ending of this movie with his death?" Because that's what everyone expected. So then I got sober and I stayed sober, and this thing kind of just like took on a whole life of its own. And
you're working at the treatment center in Pompano Beach too?
Yeah, well, I work at one treatment center that has 16 nationwide.
Okay.
So
It's based out of there or something?
Yeah, the epicenter is there.
It's called Banyan?
Banyan Treatment Center. And I help people get into treatment. And I've recently just opened a men's recovery home. So when I went to that treatment center for 90 days, from there I went to a men's recovery home for 1 year.
Okay.
And in that home, I learned how to like do laundry, wash the dishes.
Some adult shit. Yeah,
Make
grown up shit.
straight up. And I see the importance of that. So I created the same narrative. I'm doing it. And I just opened up Novak's house. And I'm looking at another one, and it holds 11 guys that come directly from treatment to there.
Yeah.
I work with nonprofits that provide scholarships for these guys. So if they don't have money, then I have someone that nonprofits that will pay their way for the first month while they continue their continuum of care to build that foundation, so that when they walk off after that month, they have the strength and stability to stand on their own and, God willing, stay sober.
Yeah.
You know, because once you walk out of treatment, I'm great at being institutionalized. I can run groups. I can tell you what your flaws are and your defects and why you're fucking up. And, but then when I walk out there, it's like, whoa, I'm like a stranger in my own skin trying to figure out who the fuck let me in.
Yeah. Holy shit. And so what about skating? Do you skate?
Dude. So the full circle, the pendulum to that story, you say, oh, you never came out with the pro model.
Yes.
The Heart Supply.
Okay.
Johnny Schilleroff.
Okay. I heard that.
He owned Element. He created Element skateboards.
Okay.
Element was purchased by someone else, and now he wants to recreate, what he did with Element.
Yeah.
So he created the Heart Supply.
Gotcha.
Christian Asoy, Bam, Jagger Eaton, myself. Everyone that rides for this team, when they have a drop, a portion of their proceeds have to go towards a nonprofit.
Sick.
It's a requirement to be on the
That's
deal.
cool.
So
it's like Jim Thiebaud, Actions Realized. He has that through Real Skateboards as well.
Okay.
They do nonprofits. Actions Realized. That's what Jim Thiebaud does through Real.
Really, it's such
Same
a beautiful
kind of thing.
thing.
It's a whole. Yeah, it's cool.
So here's where the story comes full circle. I'm skating again. I'm doing really good. I'm like killing it, filming. Johnny reaches out to me and he's like, "This is coming up to my 5-year anniversary," and he said, "I would like to give you a model. I want you to design a board and graphics." And I didn't plan this.
Yeah.
But the release of that board happened on my 5-year sober
It's
birthday.
fucking amazing, man. Wow. It's fate. That shit's awesome.
I couldn't have written that if I
Yeah.
tried, and I didn't.
It's amazing, man.
The synchronicity in life's events.
Totally.
Wow.
So on my
in that.
5-year anniversary, I released the board and the sequel to the first book, Dream Seller, that was wildly successful.
Sick.
Dream Seller was just recently printed into its 9th edition.
Wow, man.
You know
Fucking
that.
amazing.
Like
That's
that,
amazing.
not-
Yeah.
with a new cover, a new epilogue, 2 bonus chapters, and a new ending.
It's like different pressings of albums and shit records. That's cool.
Not,
Wow. That's incredible, man.
9, and I wrote, but
That's
they
amazing.
didn't. When I originally wrote that book, I had a 3-book deal.
Okay.
I didn't have time to get in the story, but at my own book release, I stole my own books to go to the train station to take back to Baltimore to sell, to buy more dope because I was sick that day.
Fuck.
So that day,
You never get high on your own supply.
Literally, I was stealing. Yeah, I was.
Holy
So
shit.
they ripped that contract up on site.
Wow, dude.
So, no more. That
Yeah.
the ending was done. I had sealed my fate.
Yeah.
But
Fuck.
because recovery is just such a spiritual journey, on my 5-year anniversary, the sequel to that book was finally released.
Awesome.
With my pro model and a video part that I went to Spain and Barcelona and filmed at 41 years old.
Holy street skating stuff, everything.
Yeah,
man.
just, Barcelona was like the mecca for skateboarding.
Wow, dude. Yeah, Barcelona's beautiful. There's so many skaters over there.
Yeah.
That's fucking incredible, man.
So it's like, dude, people say, how are you doing? My stock answer is way better than I fucking deserve.
Yeah, but you're fucking. You've been through so much shit. It's crazy, man. And now we're like in the positive party, but to get dark for 1 second, because I've always seen this in movies. When you do heroin, you're smoking it or snorting it. Mm-hmm. It's way different than shooting it. And then once you shoot it, they say you try to catch the dragon again. That's what they call it or something. Like you try. So the rest of your time, you try and get that same first high. Correct?
Absolutely.
You're chasing the
just
dragon.
A dog chasing your tail.
Okay, you heard that too,
but
right?
yeah, chasing the dragon.
definitely.
Absolutely, that's the deal.
And you would never get that first high again.
Never.
Fuck.
And dude, I've covered all these tattoos as you can relate, but one of them is a 2-parter. It says, where's my needle over here? And then over here has a needle going. And it says, oh, there it is. Like I lost it for a second.
Shit. We're just trying to find veins or probably shooting. Yeah. You shot at your feet before. Probably?
Nah, I was pretty fortunate.
Just that
I
arms
stuck in
only.
my neck. I got into my neck.
And did you remember the first time you shot it?
Yes, I didn't though. I'm terrified of needles. I hate getting
tattoos. I fucking hate needles too.
Dude, be like, oh, take the fuck. I'm not taking. I hate needles.
But were you snorting it first?
Total. Yeah, you snort it. The progression is generally the same. You snort it. You snort it. You snort it, and then like you start to deplete your funds. You start to get fucking broke, and you realize if I buy a $10 bag and I shoot just a quarter of it, I'll get 10 times higher than if I sniffed 10 of these bags.
Holy shit. Okay.
You know, so the first time looked like I don't want to do it, and I give you a little bit of dope, and you do it for me, and I just shut my eyes and go like this. Fuck. And then I learn because I'm depleting my funds. I can't keep giving you a little bit to shoot me up, so now I got to learn. It's just like a necessity. It's a lifeline.
I always see people on heroin, like living in New York, like just the thing where they're kind of standing up, they're sleeping kind of.
Yeah.
Like they're nodding out, standing up. That was always so scary to me, even seeing that, like zombies, man.
It is.
Zombie state. It's insane. I mean, what you're talking about, your fiance, how she had no idea. You know, it's a lot of people that are with addicts and they don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah,
man.
And
so or they don't really understand the disease. And so when they're like, oh, a cup of wine, you know, or a glass of wine. But I dated an addict, and I learned a lot, you know, from it. And
I didn't know that.
And it's a few times in my life that I've dated addicts, and I really learned, you know, like it's helpful if you do go to a meeting, like a meeting that's like an Al-Anon meeting, that really, so you have a better understanding. Like I would be sitting there having
partner, you mean? Yeah,
absolutely, you know, or a loved one, you know, somebody that's in your family, have a much better perspective of what's really going on in that person's mind. And there were times where I'd be sitting there and I was an idiot, you know, like I remember dating these people and I'd be like, I'm just drinking a beer
in front of them.
Yeah. Like, I mean, and it was just like, and she would just look at times and be like, wow, like I just don't understand how you can do that. You know, like there's no bottom of that bottle. Yeah. Like if I were to, you know, it's like, it's just it's not favorable for me to understand how you can just have one beer and be done. Yeah, like it was just like that. There is no end. She was like, "There's no end to that." If I started, it would be like, "Keep going, keep going." We'd be watching movies and it'd be like a Coke scene. Somebody sniffing. She's like, "Oh, it's just my asshole just perked up." You know, it's just like, whoa. She's like, it's intense. But what I realized is that she's, you know, it's a change of like who you're hanging out with as well. You know, being around supportive people. And that absolutely has a huge impact because a lot of her friends are always going to meetings. Yep. You know, it was just like really informative though, like to think like, wow, I should have gone to those meetings, you know, to really have a better understanding. But
you didn't know how powerful it is, or how
and if you really want to help somebody, you know, you got to be in, you know, it's important, I think, to really have a better understanding of the disease.
Yeah, because ultimately what can happen is you can do more harm than good.
And that's
you know, unbeknownst.
Right, exactly, right. Like no, just have a glass of wine. You're not doing heroin or anything, but it's just like, hey.
And that's what's so
like,
hard.
There's like nothing. No, not a puff.
And it's just so difficult because it's truly a case-by-case scenario. It's not a black and white textbook solution.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, what works for me might not work for you. And
true.
I was saying that too. If I never tried anything my entire life. I never tried.
That's amazing.
A sip or anything. So I'm just wondering if because I do have addictive personality.
Oh yeah, you do.
It's because my brothers were watching me. My brothers would watch me. My mom was working 3 jobs. My dad had died, and my 2 brothers were smoking and drinking in the house, having girls over. There's weed coming out of the fucking the cellar, the back of the
right.
That just was crazy, and I was like, this was scary to me. You know what I mean? And then I heard I was already into punk rock. I was already skateboarding to like Sex Pistols and all these other bands. Then I heard Minor Threat, and I was like, holy shit! I can skate to this shit. It's aggressive, and I don't have to drink to fit in. It'd be cool to sign me up. And so at 13 years old, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna be straight edge. Just because it was the timing in my life, you know what I mean? But I could have easily, my brother still drank. I could have easily been like my brother. I don't know why. I was so scared of drugs and alcohol. I don't know why, man. It was weird. My mom would smoke and drink in the house, but it wasn't like heavy shit. It's just the timing for me in skateboarding. Sure. I think I'm very lucky, man.
Absolutely.
Because I could have been really addicted to something. I don't
but
know.
you're not an addict, which is
but it's like just hearing that, I'm like, holy shit! It's like it's a totally different world. You know what I mean?
It is, and then,
totally.
But the skateboarding is the one thing that like that was like our savior, man, for everything.
I just talked about that. That has been the commonality and the common theme of my life ever. Skateboarding is I always come back. It's never left. And now
never let you down.
Right.
It's like your best friend, dude.
Never.
Yeah.
Was even just me.
Skateboarding raised me.
Yeah, just me and my skateboard, like trying to do a trick all day long, all by myself in a fucking parking lot. Just trying that all day, like just that was our thing. Like people would call me gay in school and say that Toby Morse is going to take a skateboard to the prom, and let's make fun of me all the time.
Oh yeah,
for
I got
and
made
shit.
fun of all the time. Like, why don't you have a car?
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong? Why are you skating?
I
to
make
school?
fun of you now for having a car, though.
It still goes on.
But like living in Southern Maryland, there was no skaters in my town. We go to Crofton Skate Park. We go to All Skate in Waldorf, Maryland.
Yeah,
and there
I
was like a
skate
bunch
there.
of Hicks and Confederate flags. I moved it from Newport. I was like a punk rock skater, and I moved to this town, and it was just like it was fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
But like skateboarding was always there, man. It just,
dude,
I think that kept me out of trouble.
I always talk about that skateboarding did for me at a young age what drugs and alcohol did for me at a later age. You give me that skateboard at the age of 7 and you put me in a room with the world's prettiest models, I'll not only believe that they've been waiting for me, but that they're dying to marry me. Right? Like that skateboarding provided me this sense of security, comfort, that drugs and alcohol did later. Except the drugs and alcohol weren't real.
Fuck, I wish I knew you back then. We fucking skated.
I know.
I know,
dude.
out. Fuck.
Yeah.
It's just the people
we were right next to each other.
Yeah, but just the people you end up hanging out with, and you get around these people, and it just one person turns you on to one thing.
Literally.
Or even that guy from jail that met you after, and you fucking gave you that shit when you got out of jail. It's like fuck, man.
It's
yeah.
It's just these small moments that change
synchronicities.
everything, dude. Yeah, in life.
But then now I'm on this whole spiritual journey, and I do interviews, and they ask if I would take anything back, and there's only one thing that I regret, and that's
this is my question right now. It's my last question. Do you have any regrets?
That's it. Fate.
That's funny.
Fate.
Yeah.
The only thing that I regret is the pain and the sleepless nights that I caused my loved ones.
Yeah.
Right.
Besides that, I would not take back one thing I did in life because I wouldn't be the man that I am today, the child of God that I am. That literally, I live. I believe I've been chosen today to live to like help out my brothers and sisters, which are God's children.
Right.
And
that was going to be my next question. Like, was spirituality something important in your family with your mother? Did she have a faith? Did you have to go to church, or was this something that developed over time?
Like Catholic or something?
I would go Catholic. I got my
Okay.
CCD.
too.
I would go to
you
like
did? Okay.
Christmas Christmas Eve is church.
We did
but
that too.
No big.
But you
I
weren't
wasn't
really
pushed.
okay.
And now today I'm not into organized religion.
Okay.
I call myself
Respect.
really spiritual. I'm
Okay.
a
Yeah.
spiritual
Right.
man. Organized religion isn't my deal.
But spirituality, I mean, developing this type of spirituality,
Now it's
how has it
everything.
helped? That's what I was going to say.
I-
Like, has it helped you? How important was it for your
It's everything.
sobriety?
It's
Right.
everything.
Okay.
It is absolutely everything. Everything. I don't take credit for anything that I've done. Merely what this is all. Oh man, it's so powerful, and it's not. I dumbed my way into it. All I
Right.
did was I walked in here. I got out of my way. And I always say
Got
today
out of your way.
that the
Nice.
God of my
Right.
understanding brought me to AA. And AA via the 12 steps has brought me back to the God of my understanding, which allowed me
Gotcha.
to have a spiritual experience.
Wow.
And the definition of a spiritual experience is a psychic change. So I am nothing like the man that I was when I walked into treatment.
Yeah.
My thinking, my attitude, my behavior has completely changed. My perspective and perception of life is night and day.
That's wonderful. Wow. That's incredible.
I've changed as a direct result of a spiritual experience. So God is everything to me. And when I say God, it's not like this guy with a beard.
Right.
I don't know. I just know it's a power greater than me that did for me what I could never do for myself. No human power could ever lift me of the obsession or rid me of the desire to drink or drug. I've tried.
Right.
I moved all over the world, changed women, careers, home. Nothing took that away from me until I had the spiritual experience.
I mean, I love the fact that you said you got out of your
That's
way.
it.
Own way.
Your own way. I was
dude,
like, wow, that was really rang
is
true
it.
to me. That really makes such a difference.
Because it's him fighting himself the whole time.
All the
Exactly.
time.
Desires
Yeah,
everything,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of my questions too, I know the answer. You're an optimist or pessimist. You seem so positive and so focused. And one of the main things of PMA, it's what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And you had that goal from such a young age to become a fucking pro skater, like at fucking 9 years old. Like everything you wanted to do, you I don't know, just seems so focused.
I've adapted that into my daily life now,
Right.
and it's that my mentality will create my reality.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, and today I say, and I mean it with conviction, man, is that sobriety has given me everything that drugs and alcohol ever promised me. I've never been happier in my life, dude.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
I lived the raddest life ever sober.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the funny thing is, the magic in all this is that my life was consumed by drugs and alcohol 24/7. The getting, the using, the finding ways and means to get more. It just everything was kind of created around that narrative.
Yeah.
And today, my life is consumed around drugs and alcohol. But the only difference is I don't partake in them. My books, my motivational speaking, my sobriety, my recovery house that I own, the treatment center that I work for, my own sobriety, my documentary, everything is revolved around drugs and alcohol.
Right.
And the only difference is I don't partake, and now they pay me.
It's fucking amazing, man.
Yeah.
And I didn't set out for this.
Right.
You're inspiring so many people to with your book, everything, man. You're doing.
My
you know
get
what I mean?
well job in the recovery house was I was washing dishes in Levittown, Pennsylvania for $6 an hour under the table next to a 14-year-old boy named Brian
Wow.
at 38 years old.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I had heard people talk about humility, and it sounded good until I experienced it. And now looking back, that is absolutely one of the core foundations for my sobriety today. That taught me how to be a man of my word. Say what I mean what I say.
Fuck, man, I love that. On a lighter note, what was your favorite and best trick you could pull, and that you could still pull now?
Let's see, my go-tos.
I don't know, vert trick and street trick.
It's really just transition. It's like blunts, pivot to fakies.
Sick.
Like those are just the go-tos.
How about some old school bonuses?
I skipped that era.
How about laybacks?
Skip that era. I'm a
Damn.
little younger
I'm
than
old.
that.
I'm
Yeah,
still my age.
you're dating yourself, man.
Old school.
No inverts.
No, but I was with Andy Roy yesterday
Okay.
skating, and he was
Oh,
throwing all
shit.
that down. He's
How about
he's
nose
sober.
picks? He is.
Nose picks, yeah.
Okay.
I got those.
Yeah, I want to see footage of you skating and shit.
Dude,
Fuck.
I have some. Now I can have my filmer send
I want
me
to skate with you next time on the East Coast or something.
100%.
Too. I'd love to.
This
Well,
relationship is just building.
I
man.
love this, and like you're leaving tomorrow, but my wife works at the barracks. We're gonna go skate
I
tomorrow.
I know.
Such a fun place.
I will definitely hit that with you next time I'm out here.
One of the posts, I mean, we'll end it like this, but you wrote some shit today. It was really, it was awesome. It's not happiness that makes me thankful, but thankfulness that makes me happy.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, because here's the deal, man. Now that like I'm in a much different position and place that I was when I walked in, where I was real grateful for a bed to sleep in, a shower to jump in, a refrigerator to open. Now, in the beginning, no one expected or wanted anything more out of me than to just stay sober, and no one really believed I could do that. But now, I'm a productive member of society, tax-paying member of society. I'm a business owner. People rely and depend on me, and I'm consumed. And it's very easy for me to get consumed in money, property, prestige, and think that these artificial, achievements will bring this internal fulfillment that I'm like yearning for.
Right.
And it's just such slight wordplay. Like I don't have to do this. I get to do this.
Yeah.
Rejection is God's protection, right? Like things don't happen to me; they happen for me. It's just because my disease today is centered in perception.
Yeah.
Right. That's my biggest problem: is how am I looking at it? And so I have to say and continue to remind myself of things like that on a daily basis, because the longer I'm sober, the more things that I obtain, and life gets better. And
is it a constant struggle every day still?
not as far as what, like staying sober, or
like just like thinking about it or wanting to do it, or
no. And I haven't had the desire to drink or drug once.
it's amazing, man.
And again, it's because of my pain.
Yeah.
My
Right.
pain became my purpose. I was willing to do whatever you suggested. I took me out of I always say today that it works when I don't work it.
Yeah.
Right? When I can take my brain out.
Right.
And just bring because I had to change my behaviors in order to change my beliefs.
Gotcha.
If I could have outthought myself out of addiction, I would have done it on my own and not have been in a 12-step program.
Yeah.
And ultimately that was my problem. The drugs and the alcohol were not my problem.
Right.
They were the solution to my problem. My problem is my thinking, my attitude, my behavior. So I had to do it backwards. I had to change my behaviors. I had to start showing up for work 15 minutes early, staying 15 minutes late, you know, paying my rent $165 a week at my recovery house on time.
Yeah.
You know, opening up my bank account, washing my clothes, making my bed. I changed my behaviors, and then my beliefs followed.
It's amazing, man.
You know?
Yeah.
It's.
And you have a fiance now?
No, I'm single now.
Okay.
That's my troubled zone.
Okay. Have you went back? Do you have to go back and make amends and talk to people, all the different relationships and?
Totally. That was one of my favorite steps.
I'm sure.
And
wow.
I made a lot. I still continue. I had to make an amends the other day in Carlsbad. A guy showed up to breakfast that was a filmer for us on tour, and I made his life like hell.
Damn.
And I said, like, I'm sorry, man. You didn't deserve for me to treat you that way.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and he's like, dude, it's cool, man. And I'm, you know.
Yeah, but you think about that and you see him. Yeah, it's like
doing those things. My sobriety relies upon that.
Yeah.
Honestly, it really doesn't have anything to do with them.
Yeah.
It's about me making my wrongs right and keeping my side of the street clean.
Totally. Do you want to get married and have kids someday? And like,
I love the thought of that.
Yeah.
I do. I think if I'm, you know, positioned with the person that seems like that would make a lot of sense, bring it on.
Yeah.
I don't. But see, I could also be justifying my bad behaviors with bullshit answers like that. You know what I mean? Because like I'm really aware of like what I'm doing. Like I don't know. I don't know. So
you know yourself so well.
Exactly.
Focused,
so it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Because I could do that to justify my bad behaviors. But what I've noticed is that because I've now like I have this conscious. That I'll be single before I hurt somebody and like do things and to that person that they don't deserve, like stepping out on relationships.
Yeah.
So like it's working.
Yeah.
It's a process.
I think you do deserve a good woman. I think you'd be a good.
I'd love to.
Good hubby and dad. You've been through a lot of crazy roller coaster of a life, man.
Well, that's what's crazy. Prior to my sobriety, I always had a woman. Always. It was almost like a lifeline and necessity because like I never got a woman like me because two of me, we go to hell in a handbasket. I had enough sense. So I get like a nice woman and she kind of helped keep the house in order. But as fate would have it, I got sober and I haven't had a woman in sobriety. I mean, I have here and there, but like I've been alone most of it.
But you're working on yourself as well.
And that's the thing because I finally actually love myself and I can stand myself and I'm okay with myself.
Yeah.
And I've learned
that's the most important thing, man.
That I'm not gonna lower my standards without sounding egotistical. Like I'm not gonna settle for just because.
Yeah.
Like my time is too valuable and it's an asset of mine.
And you know you're worth this everything. Yeah, it's fucking. You have any more questions, Derek?
Are there any triggers that you? Certain
That's a great
things
one.
you stay away from, you know, that you know, like, you know what, this is not a good idea for me.
That's a really good
one. You know, prior to sobriety, they were very keen with triggers.
Yeah.
And my disease of addiction, my triggers look like when my eyelids open. Right? Like I can justify why any time, place, feeling, or sensation makes sense to get high over.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's a beautiful day in California. Let's go smoke crack.
It's 80 degrees.
Yeah. It's a snowstorm in the blizzard. Let's go get high. Like, like that's just how my brain was wired. But because I bought into the concept, I've done the work, I've had that spiritual experience to put it in perspective, and not that I'm above or immune to it. I have a healthy respect, but like because I'm in firm, fit spiritual condition, I do the same few things every day in my sobriety. I went and celebrated 4 years of sobriety in Amsterdam.
Okay.
Wow.
Most people don't go to Amsterdam to celebrate sobriety. I went there to a 12-step meeting and picked up my coin.
Beautiful.
Like, but I also recognize that if you continue to go to the barbershop, you'll get a haircut. Right.
Yeah,
so like I don't hang and like do that, but I'm a free man.
Okay.
And I'm aware of my surroundings and I'm aware of like when things aren't cool.
I'm sure you don't only hang out with sober people. You have a diverse group of friends.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, me too.
It's a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
Probably 60, maybe 70-30, depending on where I'm at and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
On this skate trip and this, like I'm it's me and maybe one or two other
And
dudes.
you're like the older guy now, the OG.
Yeah,
Film
yeah,
with
it's
these-
cool, man.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing is if I'm not down with something, I just like go my own way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, like I can easily get a car or Uber and go get a hotel room.
an
Like
adult, yeah.
I don't need to like
Right.
Yeah.
you know.
It's pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Man.
absolutely.
There's freedom in that, man. To
Yeah.
be self-sufficient. Because
Yes,
I had
freedom
lived
in
in
that-
I had lived in a self-induced prison, man, that consisted of a 4-block radius that cost me $10 to get out of one bag at a time for a lot of years.
Yeah.
You know, I was in bondage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's nice to like I'm good, man.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Have you learned anything different about yourself during this pandemic or anything or no?
I've just relied on my spirituality even more.
Yeah.
You know, I choose to see this, right? Perception is everything to me. I choose to see this horrible state of affairs that we're in as us simply being divinely inconvenienced. I believe a lot of good will come from this.
Yeah.
I don't know what yet. I didn't know what.
That's
then.
that PMA though. That's that PMA though.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
know?
see the good in it. Shit is gonna happen.
It
you know what I
is.
mean?
It's,
The tunnel is getting brighter right now. I'm seeing it this year so far, for
dude,
sure.
I've noticed a lot of people like put down their phones. They like talk to each other.
Mhm.
They buy RVs. They're going on trips.
Yeah, I see
they're
that
like
too.
camping. They're putting puzzles together as a family.
Yeah, we do puzzles. Yeah.
Model cars. Those old model cars are coming.
Our kids are starting skating, riding bikes, going
Yeah,
outside, all
I-
that shit. It's
you
true.
know, I've noticed a lot of that.
I think that's true. I mean, a lot more people getting outside and doing things with their families, getting closer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's put me in a
That's-
position to get real familiar with my higher power.
I love
You
that.
know?
And your workout game is insane.
That
dude.
too.
You can see some videos in workout. You go hard. Where is that? Just like in your basement or something? At home?
Well, they closed the gyms down.
Okay,
So
yeah.
my trainer guy, he just made his own DIY gym.
That's a daily ritual for you for sure. And I'm sure
4
that
days
helps
a week.
Nice.
get the
Yeah.
stress, get everything
Dude,
out of your body.
It's
man.
so fundamental, man.
Were you a fitness guy before all this or no?
No. I
It's
just
still good
continue
for
to
everything,
evolve.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I quit smoking 2 years ago. No nicotine.
Nice.
You know,
Sick.
oddly enough, I got really good at quitting things, which is not in my repertoire.
Yeah. Smoking is probably the last thing, probably, right?
Yeah. Now I'm like eating better. I haven't bought into like full blown vegan, but I've cut out all red meats,
Sick,
only
man.
chicken, cut out milk. I try to stay away from processed foods as much as possible.
Great.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm making a conscious effort.
I love
to-
that, man.
Because ultimately what's happened now is now I've been sober long enough to be blessed with this life that I find so much more appealing than I do a drink or a drug. So the
Right.
scales of justice
Yeah.
have like now it's,
It's
not even I
right.
love this so much more.
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah.
dude, what?
That's fucking awesome, man. Yeah, your
Yeah.
workout games.
I
yeah,
love it, man. I
yeah,
love life.
man. Great shape, everything. You look great. You look healthy. You look,
I feel it, man.
Yeah.
My internal finally matches my external.
I love that.
It was always backwards for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're so connected spiritually and everything to yourself, and it's awesome, man. You
I'm
can feel your
grateful.
energy. You know what I mean?
I'm grateful, man.
Yeah, man.
And it's just not that heavy. I've learned that, man. You know, my trials and tribulations before I get so caught up on, dude, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be all right.
Yeah,
It's cool. The universe has a way of working things out.
I agree. Derek, anything you want to say?
I think that's it for me.
I want to thank you so
This
much
was
because
amazing.
it's the first time meeting you. I'm sure we
Yeah.
crossed paths before.
We have.
Same communities of people, and we met through the. That's the one thing about social media, connects people, and now you're here in real life, and it's fucking awesome. I appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to like skating with you in the future, being friends in real
Dude,
life.
this is
off the
beautiful.
internet.
This is beautiful. I feel like we've known each other for a long
Yeah.
time. You know, I do.
I appreciate you being here, man, and I'm excited to see what's next for you. You know,
Thank you. I'm so excited. And
been
I
a
have a
great
friend
journey.
in Baltimore who's like a major fan of you guys. And he
Awesome.
travels around and shoots punk bands, and he shot you guys.
oh
and
shit, awesome.
he's going to be really upset that I didn't. Because he had these photos for me to bring out to you.
Oh
and
shit,
and
you can send them to me, whatever. Yeah, yeah.
I will, but yeah. So,
Awesome, man. Well, thank you.
Thank you,
people,
guys.
People can just find you under your name right on social media.
Yeah, you just go.
Anything else?
If you want to just go to my one website that takes you to everything else, it's all one word, BrandonNovak.com. All one word.
Connects to everything, right?
Yep.
I'm looking forward to. I know you don't want to do audiobook. I'm a shitty reader, but I think your voice in audiobook would be so sick. A documentary for sure, man. For
Yeah.
sure, dude.
And also, one thing I like to
amazing
do
story.
is I give out my number for anybody out there who's struggling and they found themselves in a position that they can't get out of on their own as a direct result of drugs or alcohol. And this is my number, and please call me. It's 610-635-9092. I'll do the best that I can to answer. I'm only human. If I don't, my team will, but we'll work together to get you the answers that you need and deserve.
I fucking love that, man.
Nice.
Love that, man.
Yeah.
Save that number, people. Use that number.
Please. 610-635-9092.
All right, everybody. Thank you all for listening, and I appreciate you both for being here. Derek,
Yeah,
you're
thank you,
wonderful
man.
once again.
Thanks.
Contributions to this conversation, your amazing voice, your presence is everything. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks
as
for
well.
having me again.
Thank you,
Love
brothers.
it. Love being here.
Thank you all for listening, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Love you.
Hey, guys. Thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet to this podcast, please do that. And whatever platform you are listening to this on, I'm glad you found me. You can rate me and review me on there also. So thank you guys sincerely for the support. I cannot wait for you guys to hear the next one.